I got to say this, like, the Bengals did not win because of the way that Joe Burrow played. He didn't play very good, but they won because he put himself out there, right? That inspired everyone else. They knew they had to raise their level. That's why Jamar Chase showed up with 141 yards. That's why the defense showed up with 6 sacks and 2 interceptions. That goes a very long way. I was concerned for Burrow because I didn't want him to injure himself further. I'm glad he came out of the game healthy, and his team appreciates what he did.
Well, you were telling me that they spent all day trying to talk him out of it yesterday.
Well, he spent the day trying to talk them into it, right? Like, they know he needs rest, and so, like, well, why don't we take this game? But he was insisting to be out there. He went through a workout yesterday that impressed everybody. He looked good. They felt like he could get through the game on it. And you saw every time he came off the field, they put that sleeve on his leg with that circle thing on the back. I don't know what that is, but apparently it keeps your calf healthy when it's otherwise not. Look, I mean, I think it was all guts last night. I mean, this is a team that has like I think has a champion's mentality, right? They don't have a championship yet. They've been close. But I think, and he's the reason why. And I think him being there, you're absolutely right. They did not win because of the way he played. They won because of the fact that he played.
Exactly.
Right? And I think that mattered. And look, that highlight was missing. Trey Hendrickson and 6 sacks by the defense.
I'm biting my tongue because you guys over there talking crazy talk. They won because that defense was dominant. Joe Burrow, he showed up. Yeah, it's cool. You played out there. You didn't throw enough touchdowns. That's the problem. Trey Hendrickson and the rest of the guys, Dax on the defense, that's the reason why they won. And everybody's all like, yeah, this is nice. He played now. Had they lost this game and he got hurt, we'd be talking different. No one would put their name on it then. No one we're advocating for him to play then. But it worked out. So
I would.
You would have one.
Absolutely.
You're playing him.
Yeah, you got to play him, man. I mean, this dude, look, 200 and whatever, $55 million, you got to play, right? If you can play, you got to play.
That's the reason not to play.
You're already for next year?
No.
No. So you go 0-3.
Let him get healthy.
Okay, so you go 1 and whatever. Your season's over anyway, man. At some point, you got to go win games to stay in the race. You can't be 0-3, 0-4. Well, he will get his calf right. Well, by then, it's the whole philosophy of your season's over anyhow.
So the concern is re-injury, right? So he didn't re-injure it last night.
Correct.
He played hurt, but he didn't make it any worse.
Right.
And that's the thing. Now, they had an extra day of rest. They have one less day this week. Like, how's that going to be? I think they're going to be managing this all year, at least for most of the year, and there will be a perpetual concern about pulling the muscle again. If he can get through games like this, and Lou Anarumo's defense can play like that, right? Then then you can win. But if he pulls it again and has to miss 3-4 games, that could be enough.
Let me just say this. Listen, I miss games with a pulled calf. There are players who play with pulled muscles all the time. Okay? Let's just make sure we're clear on this.
Why are you pointing out that other people did it and you did not?
Because, listen, how
did you just question your own judgment here?
How bad it is that the guy could obviously play, so he was going to play. Everybody's saying you could do this. You could do a lot of things every time you walk on a football field. At some point, you have to put, I'm going to play above all the rest. And he said it best. Availability is the best ability. And you can talk about the future. We may never get there. So let's make sure if we can play in the present, we do it. That's what he did last night.
Is anyone else confused by the point that he's making?
Confused.
Are you suggesting that your availability was not the best? Why did you feel the need to point out
I missed 4
that you
games in
missed
14 years. I was available. I'm just saying how bad the injury is.
Look at him.
How bad injuries matter. And I'm just saying, if he knew he could play through it, at some point you got to listen. You can't always go, I got to protect. It's not his shoulder, bro. It's a pulled calf. If he pulls it again, then he's down for a little bit else. So the season looks different. But at some point, you got to go play. That's what he did.
Can I make a very quick different point?
Though.
I'm old enough to remember when this was the best division in football.
Yeah.
When the AFC North was going to put everybody in the playoffs. Anybody buying the Steelers, the Browns?
The Browns defense looks fantastic.
Yeah, we're buying that.
Done a good
Scary,
job.
Baltimore.
Baltimore, they can't stay healthy.
This team last night. Who's the best team in that division?
Right now, it has to be the Cleveland Browns. But the thing that I'm more concerned about for the Baltimore Ravens is the fact that Lamar Jackson is still the end-all, be-all for them.
Everything.
He was responsible for 83% of their yards. So you bring in all these guys, people get hurt. But at the end of the day, Lamar Jackson is going to have to revert back, at least for a couple weeks here, to be exactly that, the running and the throwing guy. And I thought when they paid him all the money and brought everybody in, it would take some of that off of him, and it hasn't. It's actually put more on his plate.
Because they're not out there. Bateman's not playing, Beckham's not playing, Zay's really good. The refs had a little bit to do with this, but this is a team.
A lot to do with it.
There were some missed calls late in that game. I'm not saying it's the reason why they lost. There were some missed calls late in the game, but they got outplayed by the Colts. The Colts are not as good a team on the road road. It's a game that the Ravens should have won. I'm not making excuses for them, but it shouldn't have been close enough for it to be.
You made a lot of excuses. You blamed it on the officials.
I didn't. I said they had something to do with it.
It was clearly
I said the injuries were a problem.
Injuries are.
Injuries. Yeah, they're 2-3 injuries on defense away from Lamar having to play safety. They're in bad shape for a team in week 3, week 4. But yeah, I mean, it was remarkable though. There were 15 other games this week and not one missed call in any of them.
Get them.
Here we go.
I retract my ref comment.
Yes, sir.
I love the refs as much as Dan loves the refs.
I don't feel one way or the other. I just don't want to watch
play.
it.
Of the 6 fastest people running with the football this season, of the 6 people who ran the fastest with the ball in their hands this season, all of them play for the Dolphins. It was Tyreek Hill a couple times, it was the rookie A-Chain a couple of times, and it was Raheem Mostert. That doesn't include Jalen Waddle, who's about as fast as anybody in the entire sport.
Right.
But RG3, I said that, and you just got on me.
Listen.
Yeah.
I will say this though.
Yeah.
All 3 of those guys have a track background.
Okay.
But
None of them can beat you, though.
But no, they
None of
can't.
them can beat you, though.
Tyreek is faster than me. The rest of them aren't. But what I will say is that when it comes to running track and field, all these guys had that background, but they made the smart decision to play football. And it wasn't because, not just because they love it, it's because they also weren't fast enough to make it to the Olympics. But I will say this. When you talk about Tua Tagovailoa
That's
and
my
Miami
fault.
Dolphins,
Yeah.
it's okay. It's
Let's
okay.
go.
Listen, I gotta set the record straight. When you talk about them, Tua, hands down, is the MVP frontrunner. And it's early in the year, I know that, but the way he is processing pre-snap, post-snap, the guy has the quickest release time to throw, but also the largest average yards per completion. They're not getting after him. I think he's been sacked once in 104 dropbacks. Like the way that they're operating on offense right now is truly special.
You made a point also that you think Tyreek is the one who is setting everything else up. Why is that?
Yeah, I've heard a couple people talk about how they've got 4 guys that are really just changing the game. It's like, no, they got one guy that's changing the game. Well, his name is Tua. But the other guy that's changing their offense is Tyreek Hill, because as a defense, you have to play off. He's not just speed, he's instant speed. And because of that, he creates lanes for guys like A-Chan, talking about Raheem Mostert, which it's A-Chan, by the way.
Yeah, not A-Chain?
It's not A-Chain. He kind of corrected it.
He changed it from the
He
draft,
changed it
yeah.
and he
Go ahead.
corrected it. But the bottom line is giving those guys speed and space. I always feel like that wins the race, and Tyreek is creating space for the entire offense.
Yeah, Tyreek moving around has people following him the way that they were following Myles Garrett on that other clip.
Yes.
But I do think that as much as we love the passing game, there's some running game scheming that's really impressive. You watch the way Burrow comes over and sets his play off, but the really most impressive thing about this play design is the offensive linemen are releasing the D linemen and using them to try to chase the running back. And the offensive linemen are getting power up on the secondary. It's a way to get the matchups that they want. So they're trying to force the D lineman to be fast and force the secondary to be strong. It's really great scheming by them, and have receivers who can block like Barrios to spring that thing. It's impressive stuff.
Every Bronco in that highlight is on the ground. It cannot be overstated what the Dolphins did on Sunday. Completely humiliating another NFL team. I mean, this is not. It wasn't an exhibition against a college team. I mean, that's the Denver Broncos.
That's right.
And look, I mean, if you talk about they're getting Jalen Waddle back, if they can keep Tua healthy, you're right. They don't even have to protect him. Average, yards per attempt.
Yeah.
He's leading the league by 2 yards.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
It's an insane number.
And he's getting rid of it quick.
2.5 seconds to get the ball off. You're not getting home. Defensive linemen ain't getting home. They're going to get their hands.
Like
they
magic.
can't get home. Absolutely.
That guy is an unbelievable offensive coach, too. I mean,
Absolutely.
the stuff they're scheming up, we've talked so much about Andy Reid and all the creative-looking stuff they do, and I know that he's got a lot of toys to play with, but I love the way that offense
And
looks.
listen, speed changes the game, right? Speed changes the game. And to your point about Tyreek Hill, his attitude, it's not just his play, his attitude, what this dude brings and presents to the rest of his team, he wants it. That's that dude. I want every time I can get it, he wants to tote it. That's just a different mindset from a receiver.
That highlight was one of 2 touchdown passes Tua threw Sunday with his right hand. He's not right-handed. That's how good Mike McDaniel is. He's a wizard of some sort designing this stuff. It's incredible. I don't know how long it lasts. Yeah. It's incredible to watch.
All right, so this is a collection of people who live in very nice houses, and so I've asked each of them to bet their house on an AFC champion right now. If I told you got to bet the palatial estate on one team to win the AFC,
Dominique!
Neek, you're the only one going Miami.
I believe what I see, man. They've been cooking right now. That's all we can go off of. We can go off the track record of the past, and we can project that everything else is going to work out perfectly, but I believe that at some point the Chiefs are going to have to deal with the fact that they don't have the weapons on the edge that they need. If their defense continues to play as well as it does, then maybe it won't matter. But right now, you're gonna have to score a lot of points to keep up with the Dolphins.
The second most humiliating performance of the week was the Chiefs over the Bears.
Yep.
Right? And we're talking to believe what I've seen for the last half decade. And this also does look like the best defense Patrick Mahomes has ever played with.
That's right. Oh, 1,000%. And listen, Tua had the jiu-jitsu training this offseason, and he's using that ground and pound to beat his haters into smithereens.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I cannot go against the core four in Kansas City. I'm talking about Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Chris Jones. Those guys, they make me believe. Oh, at the five, my bad. Core five, with Taylor Swift as well.
Yeah.
They make me believe, and I'm not betting my house on anybody but the Chiefs because of Patrick Mahomes.
I know that you said it's embarrassing, but this is kind of an historic game. I mean, it's
I'm aware.
the third time the team has scored 70 points over 7.
What's the question?
I mean,
What's the
how do you
question?
feel about it being
I just finished telling you.
historically embarrassing?
Next question.
He's not in a good mood.
I mean, in his defense, the question was, I want to know how you feel about it being historically embarrassing.
Right.
Yeah, I'm good. You're just being a jerk. Next question.
Basically, having been a reporter and Graziano was there, we might as well have just said, can you just say that again? Like, just say more of that.
Yeah.
Talk about how embarrassed you are and all that. That's all that we're looking for. We didn't get it, and it is what it is. Look, the bottom line, I mean, you know from your brief time what it's like to stand up there and answer very difficult questions. I mean, he's a person in a bad spot right now. I'm not sure how much worse he could get than 70 points getting hung on your defense.
And he didn't help himself, obviously, coming into the season. Some things he said about the past regime, all those things don't help you, and so now it kind of gets piled on. I think, honestly, though, the most disappointing part for me was Garrett Bowles, who is their tackle. After the game, after they lose, he makes the comment of, all he's done is lost in 7 years. And we're 3 games in the season, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Let's hone it in a little bit and understand that it is ugly, it is embarrassing, but we have a lot of football left. You have to have that tough mindset. I think that's the part that would probably scare Sean Payton more than anything, is if that's leaking into your locker room 3 weeks in the season, we got bigger issues.
What are we seeing here? I mean, that you don't give up 70 points in a game if you are busting it on every rep and all, right? I mean, like that was not among the many things that happened. RG3 was a little bit of laying down. I mean, you watch some of those highlights. The Broncos, no one's trying to make a tackle late in that.
What are you going to do when it's 50-3? You going to come back? I mean, like, you going to try to get hurt? Like, you're in Miami, it's hot. It's like, hey, man, I ain't trying to pull my hand either. So should they be able to just, like literally, I mean, they could play with a running clock. I mean,
I just think that what you saw on the field was a reflection of what's going on in the building right now. The greatest offense of all time on a per-play basis averaged 7.0 yards per play. Right now, the Broncos are giving up 7.2 yards per play. They're historically bad on defense. It's not just historically embarrassing. But when you talk about Sean Payton, I understand what he said in the offseason about Nathaniel Hackett and the previous regime. But I've been more upset about what he said about Russell Wilson. Because this year, Russell Wilson has not been the problem for the Denver Broncos. He may have been last year, but the problem for the Denver Broncos right now is Sean Payton and him not taking accountability for how bad they are playing. So if you're going to go out there and say that your quarterback needs to stop kissing babies and shaking hands, well, you better start kissing some babies and shaking hands, because right now you're on the hot seat because you were supposed to come in there and turn this bad boy around. And when you get beat 70-20 and you're throwing your quarterback under the bus in the post-game press conference and then really not being willing to accept the criticism from the media when you play bad, your job as a coach is to say, that's on me. I will take care of this, and he's not doing that right now.
You think they sell defenses at Walmart? They need to find one now. That was atrocious. And I think one of the things that I sense in the Garrett Bowles moment, and like I get where he's coming from. Maybe you don't tell this honestly to the media, but going into a building after just getting demolished like that, it's terrible. Yeah. It is terrible. And as somebody who cares about, look at how much he cares about this. Like, this guy's crushed. And, like, I understand that. Maybe you lied to the media, but that man is dejected. I've never been a part of a team that was as embarrassing as the team was last year and then followed up with a start like this. That sucks. Going into the building this morning is terrible.
Let's just underline the stat that Robert just gave you here, because sometimes, you hear so many things coming at you on television. They are allowing more points per play than the worst defense ever. Right? I mean, literally ever. So right now, they are the worst defense ever through 3 games.
I mean, giving up 726 in one game will skew the average, right? And on a 3-game
They're
sample,
playing Justin
I'll
Fields and the
bet
Bears.
that average drops a little bit on Sunday.
What do you think? What if the Bears lighted up against them?
Oh.
That would be terrible.
Not for the Bears, it wouldn't be.
No, right. Obviously, no. I mean, for Denver, we're talking about Denver. But yeah, I think they have to look good against a Bears offense that doesn't look capable of doing anything right now. Look, I mean, you talk about Sean Payton, talk about Garrett Bowles. There is not a template for how to conduct yourself after you give up 70 points. No. Like no one knows what that feels like. So
I think that what Greeny is getting us towards is something has to happen.
Yes.
And they're committed to the coach. They're committed to the quarterback. I think then you start looking around the building at coordinators, and that feels unfair on a short period. But when it gets this bad, if they lose to the Bears, who I saw in the newspaper there had Fs for everything in their recent game, if they lose that, there is going to be some changes.
I mean, the coordinator is Vance Joseph, is in his 3rd game, right? Like, it's
hard
early
to do it on him.
But think back to the offseason. The Broncos were one of the teams that were in the sweepstakes to hire Vic Fangio as defensive coordinator. They lost out to
Miami.
The Dolphins.
Yeah.
So did that make a difference? Did the Vic Fangio revenge game?
It's easy to overreact when you get 70 put on you, but the season's still not over for them. It's still early. They
I'm
can
going to go
still
ahead and say
turn
it's
this
not
around.
an overreaction. There's no such thing as an overreaction when you get 70 put on you.
There is, because the season's still young. But the thing is, Greeny, Sean Payton was not the offensive genius on that field.
It was Mike McDaniel.
It was Mike McDaniel.
For sure.